Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Welcome back to Live from the Heartland. Thank you, Sly Stone. I hope things are more peaceful up in heaven than they are in the streets of America. And now I'd like to bring on our first guest today, the one and only, the longtime journalist, political analyst, and activist, Don Rose. Good morning to you, Don Rose.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And when we talked about things to talk about today, the first thing you said was Los Angeles. And then we talked about some events around the country on the 14th. And if we got some time, we're going to talk about anti-Semitism and how it's being used against everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to L.A. Little did we know that things would break loose like they have. We knew last week in Chicago there were a number of demonstrators showed up when ICE went into a building, was pulling people out. A couple days later, Los Angeles has erupted. Give us your take on all of that.
Well, these demonstrations and protests are, well within things we've seen before, and they are to be expected. It is not wise, of course, to have violence during these things. We're trying to persuade the country, that what ICE is doing in these crazy raids on, small businesses, on car washes, any place they think they might be able to find an undocumented immigrant. Unfortunately, they have the right to do it, but it is in total violation of what we were told was going to be getting rid of the criminals. So let's take that as part of a norm. The thing that's happening there, mobilizing the National Guard without the permission, cooperation of the state's governor, is unconstitutional. It is permitted only under certain emergencies, which Trump has declared. And sending in the military itself, sending in the Marines, who are a fighting force. They are not a stabilizing force as some army battalions could be, is another horrendous action. You're setting up Americans to fight Americans, an American military, sending the Marines for what? Now, this is only permitted again under certain emergency situations. If we were in fact invaded somehow, if there was an assault on the United States properties and so on by a crowd and so on, you might be able to declare these emergencies, but they're very clearly spelled out. Now, Trump has done this before. He has declared certain states of emergency so he can ban people from coming, ban whole nations from coming into the United States. He's very fond of creating these emergencies, and the dangerous thing here is if he is permitted to get away with it, we will have the absolute dictatorship that we feared would be on the way with Trump in any case. And this is really the scariest possible situation. Eventually, not his right to declare emergencies, but whether these emergencies actually exist is going to be up to the Supreme Court. And I'm very, very leery here. There's certain situations where I think the Supreme Court will stand in his way, but if it does not stand in his way to these created self-created emergencies that have no basis in fact and reality, we are all very much in deep, you know what.
Don, what is your sense of the response from both Mayor Bass in Los Angeles and Governor Newsom? I did see some of my further left friends criticizing Newsom for not calling for people to demonstrate and all that, but I actually did find Newsom talking for people to go out and demonstrate and do it peacefully. But your take on their response?
Well, I don't, you know, I think their basic response is correct. Whether you like every word they've said, I'm not going to argue those small points. What Newsom has done is called Trump very clearly on his unconstitutional behavior. And in effect, Mayor Bass. They also have a right to deal with violent demonstrations where violence exists. Let's face it, we've seen it on both sides in the past, and they have a right to crack down on violent demonstrations in their city. Whether you think the violence is justified or not is another issue.
Let me jump in here. Do you have any sense of how the military might act? I've heard that there are some leadership that may be left in there who are probably pretty positive in the sense that they don't like the troops being used, but I'm not sure where the rank and file is. I heard somewhere that 60% of the Army was non-white. And you and I both go back to 1968 when the National Guard was called here in Chicago. We went up to the Armory up on Broadway and tried to talk to the troops. And there were troops from Fort Hood, Texas, who refused to come. I don't know if it's going to get to that, but the use of the military by Trump certainly puts that on the agenda, so to speak.
Yeah, well, we've got a different kind of military now. We've got a military that's being run totally politically by the administration. You saw another little horror yesterday, I guess it was, where Trump gives a political speech before an army. At an army base, the one where he talks about restoring all the Confederate names to various army bases, including lauding Robert E. Lee. But that's yet another issue. But the dangerous thing here, in the course of this speech, the military, the army that you saw, was responding as if they were at a political rally. You heard them booing, not everybody, of course, but you heard sufficient numbers of these armed forces booing certain names. They were booing the name of Newsom, the governor, and of Bass, the mayor. Now, this is a very, very dangerous situation again. He is politicizing intentionally the military in a way we've never seen it. Now, when this happens, and if these people feel free, if they are called in, I don't know how we can judge the behavior of one particular fort that he was speaking at, army base. If you have a politicized military and they feel free to attack, you're going to have, an unspeakable situation in this country. So I think, I've always been one to point out what's going on that's wrong, but I've never, I think, been a panic peddler here. But I, at this point, feel very close to the panic point myself until we get this issue resolved. And I'm very worried about how long it might take and what might go on in Los Angeles.
We, this Los Angeles coincides a little bit. What the call has been out for a while for No King Day. And there are hundreds and hundreds of places where demonstrations are planned this Saturday.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands. And, we have a situation where Trump is also having his military birthday party parade in D.C. on the same day. And he's basically threatened protesters that he was going to lock them all up. Actually, the people who have called for No King Day have asked people to not go to D.C., but go to other places. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this No King Day with thousands of demonstrations going on around the country?
Well, I am urging everybody I know who is physically able to get out to one of these No King Day demonstrations at the nearest point. And no matter where you live, I don't know how wide our audience is, but there is a place accessible from almost any other place in the country to get to No King Day on Saturday. I would hope that this would turn out to be the largest protest demonstration in American history. It has that potential. It's been plotted for a long time. It is coming clearly at a time when we're having this big phony parade that Trump is creating for his birthday, and a quite improper display of fighting equipment. We are not given to military parades here. Other countries do it. You always used to see the Soviets do. Putin continues to practice there. It's kind of in effect, a threat and a warning. Look what we got here. Quite unnecessary. But this is something to stroke Trump's ego. And once again, part of the politicization of the military here. By itself, were we not seeing all these other things going on, it would not be a horrifying event, just a very wasteful thing. It's costing $130-some million just to run a parade for a couple of hours. That think what this money could do if it were being distributed to feed the hungry in Africa and the Middle East and so on.
It would be a good use of the dough. Well, as a not-for-profit radio station, we're not to advocate. So we're just telling people that this is information, that there is a protest going on this Saturday at Daley Plaza in Chicago at noon, and there's one in Evanston at Fountain Square beginning at 10 a.m. That's point of information for all you people. Now, another thing that I think we ought to talk about a little bit, Don, is the use of anti-Semitism by Trump to attack anybody who protests against Gaza and the U.S.'s role in that and stands up for their universities, et cetera. Let's hear a little bit about it. You had a piece in your weekly column where you talked about anti-Semitism. You talked about your own position throughout time as a member of the Jewish faith. How do you see this anti-Semitism in the hands of Trump and the MAGA people playing out?
Well, he's using it. He's using anti-Semitism to create anti-Semitism here. We go back to the basics. Criticism of the of the Israeli government and the way it's conducting its war in Gaza and the way it is invading the West Bank and killing people there, taking over property, et cetera, is horrifying. And I think its actions have been condemned by most of the world. And it's condemned by many, many Jews like myself. But there is a difference between criticism of the government of Israel and criticism of Jewry across the world. And that's where the problem is. Most often, or too often, people do not draw the distinctions between the Israeli government and what Jews as a whole do. Jews are all over the map on this, and we have to fight sometimes among ourselves as to our positions on what Israel is doing, even though I personally support the existence of Israel and have wanted for a long time a two-state solution. Now, it's harder and harder to draw the distinction the worse Israel gets. As a matter of fact, Thomas Friedman in today's New York Times has a column very similar to the one that I published earlier in the week. The concern that Israel itself is creating anti-Semitism, and it plays into the hands of Trump, who is a longtime supporter of Netanyahu and the excesses of the Israeli government. And he is using the theory that any criticism of the war, the conduct of the war, or of the Israeli government is itself anti-Semitism, which just creates more and more. As a Jew, I find it almost frightening. I can see why many students are scared witless now, because anti-Semitism is in effect getting a sanction.
Good point. Well, one of the things that I brought up with you before, and a number of my guests who have been of the Jewish faith, is at a time when the Democrats are trying to get ready for a comeback with a lot of opportunity, given the actions of the current regime. We have a lot of young people, as well as people around the world, being more and more supportive of the Palestinian cause in the face of Netanyahu's U.S.-backed attacks. And I wonder how you think that's going to play out in the Democratic Party, because a lot of people are rooting for, the 2026 elections and hope we'll take back Congress, et cetera, and I hope that too. But I don't know what the split in the party between the ranks of pro-Israeli, not necessarily in support of what's going on in Gaza, but not really taking a stand against it. Your thoughts on the problem facing the Democratic Party?
Well, if this is extended to its natural limits, which happened during the last election that helped bring about the Trump administration, you have people so vigorously condemning the Democrats that they either didn't vote Democratic or they may have voted for Trump, or they may have voted for a third party or whatever. And you have a self-destructive aspect there. The Democrats have to find a common, balanced position where they can say no more help to a Netanyahu, the way Bernie Sanders is urging, and still express their support for the Jewish state. Now, if they can't find that balance, they're going to be, it's just going to be something that pulls the Democrats apart. And the last thing you want at a time like this, with Trump close to taking dictatorial powers totally, is a split in the Democratic Party. So I worry about that, and I think we have to settle that issue as calmly as we can, rather than make it the defining issue, which too many people did last time, and as a result, it helped elect Trump.
Yeah, I wonder how those Arabic communities up around Detroit are feeling now about their support for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of stuff ahead of us, and we're out of time, but you got 30 seconds of any positive encouragement for people?
My positive encouragement right now is that if the No King Days is as successful as we hope it will be, as I hope it will be. I know you can't take an official position. I can't. I think that will go a long way toward building to the midterms where we must take over the House.
Okay. Don Rose, it's always great to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person one of these days. It's been a long time on our Zooms. But you're a hell of a guy, and I'm really appreciative you came on the show. We'll talk to you soon. I know you'll be back next month.